Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of Extra Serving, a restaurant industry podcast by Nation's Restaurant News. I'm your host, Holly Petre, here with the latest episode. I'd like to introduce my lovely co-host for the episode.
My name is Sam Oches, editor-in-chief of Nation's Restaurant News.
My name is Leigh Anne Zinsmeister, managing editor of Nation's Restaurant News.
I'm Lisa Jennings, executive editor of Nation's Restaurant News.
Welcome to the pod, Lisa. Welcome back, Leigh Anne. It's great to have you both here. Sam, we don't care as much about you.
You can't get rid of me, so yeah, I'm just a stain on this.
Well, we finally have our crypto expert back, so we don't have to make fools of ourselves over NFTs and the metaverse again.
And yet we have nothing on the lineup to speak about NFTs or metaverse. So Lisa, you get to talk about other things too.
Actually, we do. We have the interview with Chef Pizza's Spike Mendelsohn.
Yes, we do. Very exciting interview. So we'll get to that later, but it's very exciting. So we will definitely get to that. But let's go right into the news, guys. We have a lot of news to talk about. So Panera joined the chicken sandwich wars, which is very exciting. They have a healthier option. I tried to get us some chicken sandwiches today, but they don't roll out till March 30th. It's currently March 24th as we're recording. So couldn't get us sandwiches for today to eat on the podcast. I really did try. They have a spicy version and a regular version. So what do we think about Panera jumping into the sandwich wars? A little bit more expensive option than the rest of the chicken sandwiches. So what do you guys think?
Why? Why? I mean, look, to each their own, and it's great to have on the menu, I guess. But hey, Panera, about a year and a half late to the game, and which is maybe fine because they can own the marketing channel to themselves. But and also just doesn't feel like the kind of concept that people would go to for a fried chicken sandwich. But
well, it isn't fried, but I mean. You got to give them credit for that. At least it's a healthier version. But I guess chicken sandwiches have just become the thing that has become a veto vote now. If you don't have a fill in the blank, I'm not going to go there. And I guess now everybody wants a chicken sandwich.
Yeah, I will say I love a chicken sandwich. I am one of the consumers who is all over the chicken sandwich fad. But my first thought was it's been just about 3 years since Popeye's chicken sandwich, which set off this chain reaction. So specifically, I'm over the phrase chicken sandwich wars. I think now we're just adding chicken sandwiches to our menus and like, we don't have to be battling over it. So that was my first instinct was like, that's fine. I think it fits Panera's lineup just fine, especially as they're trying to get more into different day parts and hot items. They have new flatbreads. Like it kind of fits with what Panera is doing, but then framing it, I understand the marketing side of it and, SEO, that's how my brain works. But personally, the chicken sandwich wars feel played out.
Yeah, I guess we just have to embrace now that chicken sandwiches are an American staple. That, much like a sandwich burger, this is just something that most restaurants, try to put on the menu. To Lisa's point, that veto vote. I mean, my normal Panera experience is usually driven by my kids, because if we want something healthier for the kids, maybe a little bit more higher quality, we look to Panera. And as somebody who does not have a go-to at Panera, something like this could catch my eye, because sometimes I feel like, and I'm in a healthy mood, maybe I get a salad, and sometimes I'm not. So yeah, I do see how everybody could serve one of these as that catch-all to that person that's familiar with chicken sandwiches, love chicken sandwiches. We all love chicken sandwiches. But yeah, Leigh Anne, to your point, like, don't lean into the marketing of this. There's got to be a new way to frame chicken sandwiches on the menu. 5 minutes in and we got our first kids reference. So right on track. It was always coming, Holly. It was always coming.
Did you know?
Yeah. Do you know I have young children? They affect everything about my life. Did you not hear me for the 2 days we were just in Dallas at Women's Food Service Forum talking pretty much nonstop about my kids?
Oh my God. The long FaceTime calls were unreal.
Lisa, back me up here. This is what you do. They're the joy of your life. You miss them when you're apart from them.
Yes, mine are all grown up and still here. Just still here.
Lisa's like, I don't want to FaceTime with them because I have too much FaceTime with them.
Yes.
Yeah, Lisa would love to miss her kids probably.
Yeah, I mean, my kids are definitely affecting my grocery bill. My two adult sons that are living here.
But back to the chicken sandwiches, it does feel strange to call them chicken sandwich wars when we are in a real war. I think it feels a little strange to still keep saying that. I think we should officially retire the phrase chicken sandwich wars amid all that's happening in the world.
Very terms, indeed. Yeah.
Yes.
Can I just give Panera one shout out though for its packaging, which specifically they note that this packaging has a tearaway box. It's recyclable. Just because things are recyclable doesn't mean they're actually recycled, but still. And they're using the thermal wrap for their sandwiches, which today there's some news about Consumer Reports tested for the forever chemicals that are called PFAS. I'm not going to say the chemical name because I'm not going to pronounce it correctly, but this is something that really has become an issue in the industry. It's in all packaging. In fact, it's so pervasive. Nobody can say that they're PFAS free because it's in everything. It's in the ink, it's in the recycled paper, it's just everywhere. But we're now finding that there are some health issues, very serious health issues. Children are most vulnerable. And it's now become a thing to get this out of packaging. And Panera really has tried to do that. They've set their goal of getting it out of their packaging as much as they can by this year. And it shows in the Consumer Reports tests. They tested specific packaging across the industry, I think 24 companies. And Panera had a much lower level of PFAS in their packaging. And specifically the sandwich wrap was one of the lower ones. So I give credit to them for that.
And this is why we have Lisa on the podcast. She brings the data.
I bring the nerdy sustainability stuff in.
I mean, that's good though. Sustainability, something that like everybody wants to throw that word around for. It's just such an easy word to abuse, but to see a company like Panera doing something about it, putting their money where their mouth is, that is refreshing to see, especially by the way, at a time where packaging, I mean, I've talked to some people who are like changing their packaging provider every couple of weeks because of supply chain issues. So I know that that's a real hiccup right now.
Right. I feel like restaurants are really between a rock and a hard place when it comes to this stuff because they want to do the right thing. Honestly, they do. They know that people are paying attention to this. But there just are so few options out there that really they can say this is the better choice for the planet. It's very difficult, to find the product for one that they need, to have the food come to your house in something that is ecologically friendly that will also keep the food hot or cold as needed. It's a really tough situation right now, and fortunately, I think the attention that this is getting is moving things in the right direction. We're seeing things happen. We're seeing legislation. California has banned PFAS in food packaging as much as possible, the intentional PFAS starting next year. So that's going to be huge. Restaurants are going to have to figure this out.
Well, that's very interesting. And I'm so glad to hear that for California. So thank you, California, for being the leader on that.
Yes, California. Right.
Every business leader listening to this in California right now is rolling their eyes so hard.
I know, they're thinking this is going to be so hard for us to figure out how to do.
Well, in other news, Waiter is now helping some of its employees with surging gas prices by giving them discount cards. So it's a very interesting program that Waiter is developing. I mean, what do you guys think about this way for a company to help offset the cost of gas that's been just astronomically priced recently, especially for a delivery company that is, primarily focused on drivers, where they have people driving constantly?
I don't know how they do it, honestly. In California, it's over $7 a gallon in some neighborhoods, which is amazing.
Yikes. Yeah, I mean, I think, anything that companies can do to help their workers is great. I mean, the alternative is probably they would start losing drivers if you have to pay for gas to do your job that much. It's also great news for restaurants because, surveys are starting to come out that as gas prices rise, consumers are spending less money in restaurants and other places. I think sales have been down the last 3 weeks in a row. So, delivery drivers, anywhere people can save money on gas right now in particular, I think is great news. And it's great to see some tech companies taking the lead and helping their workers save that money.
My question is this at all trickling down to the restaurant partner? I mean, do you guys know, are the surging gasoline prices, are the third-party delivery companies passing cost of gas along to restaurants at all? Is that affecting any of the fees?
I haven't heard of that yet so far, but we're early, I think.
That's a great question, Sam.
Because I mean, and just frankly, just me not knowing how all this works, but I guess this is the first time I've thought about the question of, do delivery drivers pay for their own gas, or do they have support? I mean, I guess they clearly pay for their own gas. So, this reminds me of a lot of the other supply chain issues that are going on right now, which is like every person in the supply chain, every step of the way, getting from, food from farm to factory to fork and everything in between, everybody is affected by the supply chain problems going on right now, and the gas prices being a huge part of that. So if you blow that out to the third party delivery and thinking about, drivers are going to drive less because of gas prices, it might not be worth it for them, to get tips or and other wages from those companies. So it's just interesting to see that this is going to have to be a necessary step for these companies to think about that. How can they cover the gas prices for their drivers so they don't lose their drivers, and eventually that they don't have to pass anything along to the restaurants?
Right. It's just another take on the labor problem. I mean, they can't afford to lose drivers right now. Waiter also said that they were adjusting driver pay upward in response to gas prices, but they didn't share any details on that as far as I know. So it's certainly something these companies are thinking about. But it'll be interesting to see how much it helps, and who it helps, and then who it affects.
Well, talking about another delivery company, Grubhub was sued by Washington, D.C., all of Washington, D.C., over excessive fees.
I think all of them.
Okay.
all of them over excessive fees and false advertising. I mean, that's a pretty big deal.
Well, this is something that we've seen happen over and over again. I mean, we're seeing, several cities getting involved in the relationship between restaurants and the delivery companies, the third-party delivery companies. And so, if in Grubhub's defense, they did say that this had to do with some practices during the pandemic that they have since stopped, or so that's what they say. So there's that. But, I do feel like the relationship still needs work. I still feel like the third-party players out there are either, I mean, they need each other, restaurants and third party. This is something that we've seen prove out as necessary, this relationship, but we got to make this marriage work. And it still seems very, both sides are feeling very unhappy about the situation.
I'm still so surprised that restaurants have not, I think because restaurants have so many other things going on, they just can't take a step back and figure out how to solve this for themselves. Because this has been a conversation. I'm sure you guys have this conversation with your sources and connections around delivery, and how to unbundle yourself, untangle yourself from that need to where you rely so much upon third-party delivery. Because when this stuff pops up, I'm like, restaurant operators in DC got to be screaming right now, or maybe they're just shaking their head and saying like, yeah, we knew this was going on. But it just feels like every time we find out about some of these practices going on, that restaurant operators, there's got to be that other solution for them to take back some leverage from those companies so that they're not totally beholden to them for these fees.
Right. One of the examples was, that the accusation was that Grubhub was, basically selling for delivery food that they had no partnership with the restaurant. So they, are putting their food up for delivery when the restaurant had not agreed or wasn't aware. And this has been going on since the very beginning. I remember when In-N-Out Burger first had to sue, I think it was DoorDash, for selling their burgers, even though they did not want to deliver their food. They're very specific about that. And so they had to sue them. They took them to court. They said they stopped the practice. This was years ago. So it's not like, the companies don't know that the restaurants don't like this. They don't like this. So, and it's really just not fair, because it means the restaurants end up, their brands are out there on these marketplaces and at prices that they don't necessarily agree to or don't reflect what is true. It's just not right. So there's good reason for these lawsuits to correct things, but it strikes me as I don't know how they can claim that I didn't know that they didn't want us to, to sell their food for delivery, because they know.
Totally.
Well, Lisa, why don't you tell us a little bit about your interview for this week? You've already kind of given us a little bit of a preview, but can you also give us a little bit of a summary of what kind of cryptocurrency is and what NFTs are? Because our listeners may be as confused as Sam, Leigh Anne, and I have been in the past.
Hey, speak for yourself. Yeah, no, I'm totally confused.
Well, this is not something that can be explained simply in 5 minutes, as I've tried, to do before and failed apparently. But this whole crypto world is creeping into restaurants. There's NFTs are one aspect of it, and this week the news is, and the interview that we have coming up, which is great, is with Spike Mendelsohn, who is a Washington D.C. restaurant operator and somebody who has now started with Tom Colicchio, Top Chef. Everybody knows Tom Colicchio, Top Chef, and crafted hospitality, and a lot of their celebrity chef friends have gotten together for this project that's called Shefty Pizza. And it's today is the first day of the public sale of their NFTs. They're selling NFTs. And I know everybody sort of thinks of NFTs as being like you buy an image or a piece of art, and that's, in many cases it is that, but in this case it's not just that. The piece of art, which is a cartoon slice of pizza, it's like a ticket. It has a smart contract behind it, and what you do when you buy this went on sale today for about 0.07 Ethereum, which is the equivalent of roughly $200, about $211 as of this morning. And you get a ticket to their community. And if you drink the Kool-Aid here, you can really see the value in this. So you have two things. You have the asset itself, this image, this picture, this ticket, which can be resold. It did not sell out, it looks like, immediately this morning. It may sell out by the end of the day. They only made 277 of them available. Okay, I'm getting off track here. Anyway, so you have the asset itself, but you also have this community. So over the past few months, they've been building this community on the social media platform Discord, which is kind of a new platform for a lot of people. Gamers know it. And it's some kind of like a mix between Slack and Twitter and Instagram. You can post pictures, you can talk. So here's a place where you can hang out with your celebrity chef friends and all the people who love them. Foodies, it's a foodie world. It's not just about pizza. They talk about all kinds of food. There's so much there. I mean, you can really sit there all day and just dive into the food world. It's so interesting. People who buy their NFTs today will have a certain exclusive access to this content. You can join the Discord without buying the NFT and still get a lot out of it. But people who have an NFT will have a ticket to a whole new world. There's going to be live events, there's going to be master classes. There's going to be all these things that you can do with your fellow NFT holders. And it's really they're creating a new vertical, a new way for people to network, to interact. And, and at any point you can be on there and you can be talking to Tom Colicchio about something that he's posting about. And isn't that cool? You can hang out with all your celebrity friends. Jose Andre is going to be at the party. There's going to be a party in Washington, D.C. is the first in real life party for NFT holders. And the celebrity chefs are amazing. It's Jose Andre, it's Tom Colicchio, it's Spike Mendelsohn, it's, I forget who else is going to be there. A bunch of people. It's that's a cool thing to be able to do that. It's probably worth $200. And then the asset itself could grow in value. It could become more valuable. It also could become less valuable. It's just the way cryptocurrency works. So I kind of get that. I get that they're creating all of these entities. They're kind of creating, it's like a mix between a fraternity and a loyalty club that you pay to join. And all these people are super energetic and engaged, and they promote the thing, and they're talking about food and they're connecting. And, here is where the Shefty Pizza would like to become kind of an umbrella platform for other NFTs that come along. They would like to kind of help food people get into the NFT world, offer their services as consultants. And this will be a place where you can become the first to know about the next NFT thing to come along. So let's say Rocco DeSpirito, who is in this group, decides he wants to do an NFT project. And so these people will have first access because they're part of this community. So I don't know if that helps explain it at all.
No, that did. That was a great explainer. I think that was a great explainer for everyone. And they just have to listen to the interview to find out more.
Right. Listen to this interview. Spike actually explains it really well. So
okay, that's
this is his world.
the great teaser.
Yeah.
Spike explains it well. Everybody listen to Spike.
Right.
I'll listen to this one.
Thank you everyone for joining me today, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Everybody listen to the interview.